their region. And this week, today's the last day, or the second last day, of Camila touring in the southwestern United States. And we're fortunate enough to have her here. And so Camila Sanmiguel, let's give it up for her.
Thank you. Okay. Hi, my name is Camila, and I'm a National Student Poet for the Southwest, as he introduced. Thank you. I'm one of 5 National Student Poets appointed at the Library of Congress, as he said. I was selected to serve a year-long literary ambassadorship, servicing audiences in my region. I'm a senior in high school in Texas, as he said. Throughout the year, my fellow poets and I each represent and serve a different region of the country and strive to generate engagement in and appreciation for poetry in various groups of people. As a representative for the Southwest, I give workshops and readings in an effort to promote poetry as an important means of expression and healing in my community. I work to implement service-meant advanced poetry, I particularly focus on young multicultural audiences of first and second generation immigrants. So at home in Texas, I've been working with the Refugee Services of Texas, the Young Center for Immigrant Children's Rights in San Antonio, and a number of other organizations that are closer to home. So I know that poetry can feel esoteric, distant, but I will say that while I do have national student poets that have been formally trained by writers, I also have fellow national student poets, including myself, who have been entirely self-led and self-taught, and who took up poetry as something for themselves and had a tremendous impact anyways. And I say that because I think that there's no wrong way to be a writer. Being totally organic has gotten me and a lot of poets and writers where they are. Yes, we do learn from poetry, but what I've always said and advocated for since I was appointed is that the most valuable things that a poet can have are insight and empathy. Everyone can have a unique artistic perspective on everything, from social and political issues to daily life, as small as little details of daily life as small as sitting here in the dining hall. These 2 topics can create 2 different poems that are equally beautiful and powerful. For those of us that go the first route, like writing poetry about social and political issues, poetry can be the most beautiful form of literary activism that we have. How can we go about combating divisiveness, the gaps between us and other groups of people? This was the question that I asked myself when I became a national student poet. A writer builds a bridge and prays that it's enough, quickly discovering that any sort of advocacy can make a world of difference. Writing poetry can allow you to shove at the limits of activism, cross the boundaries of humanity, create change through words and literary outreach, not just connecting and taking strides, showing poetry can move across the divides of race and politics and beliefs. In this way, becoming an advocate or a poet can be equated to crossing from the realm of frustration to that of action, of fervor, of impact. Poetry is living and breathing for this empathy, calling for unity, using prose to call for action or even just thought. But I've learned that when it comes to creating resounding change, even just bringing about thought is enough. I'll finish by, before I read a poem, I'll finish by saying that if there's something that you feel needs to be said, poetry is one of the most beautiful and empowering ways to do it. So, okay. Today I will read, depending on how long this takes, I'll read 1 or 2 poems. So the first one is called Selfish. A study in ambition, migrants, Oaxaca, 1985, and disheartened mosquitoes softly thudding against the window screen. Heritage is serrated. Like a child, it pushes you from the top of the playground slide face first, pebbles blooming bruises onto your chest, the color of stagnant rain puddles between train tracks, colors that last decades burn into my eyes. A lifetime later, I still shake wind from my hair while generations of gritted teeth and stifled screams slip through the shower drain, drift somewhere at the bottom of a river that stitches one country to another, remnants of another life stuffed behind the back panel of a linen closet, accompanied by uncertainty. Anticipation drips from the eaves of this borrowed house, like the mason jar honey my grandmother traded on the street corner for bulk detergent, and I remember a perpetual layer of anxiety filling the space, a cosmos of scorched candle wax, wrinkled pages from a math workbook, and the contents of a briefcase littering galaxies on Quart's living room table, the absence of migrant mother and father who followed the lure of the harvest 4 months out of the year. The lessons of this country often break you. For me, it is blossoming guilt every time I forget things were not always so easy, every time I reject my grandmother's calls because all she has done for years is tell me that everything hurts. But of course it does. Decades ago, she receded into the factories in California and did not emerge, bent over conveyor belts, canning fruit for the wages reserved for female Latinas, working 2 jobs at home to keep my mother out of Southside public schools, wastelands of dropout rates. I look at my grandmother, the years gaping canyons carving through her unmoving face, and I want to tell her it paid off. Hope tumbles from its despondent grip on the sides of train cars, life smashing open on the rails, and I know I could never understand, never pretend to even know how it feels to literally die for opportunity, to become something half alive and to drip despair, to tilt your face towards the sun until your skin becomes unrecognizable, until you begin to sprout roots, 1 for each of 7 children keeping you from jumping, until you've looked too long and realize that the fine print of the American dream will rip generations from your palms until your descendants can finally reap some form of success. I am afraid to ask if my ambition is selfish and why the price for privilege was so high, and why people insist on claiming that Mexicans can waltz into a country and steal jobs as if life is something you can pocket, as if a family, an entire ethnicity, is disposable. I've never had to harvest in my life, and yet my hands still bleed.